Hello everybody. This is a video about Bitwig voice stacking and using them in a spatial audio context. This could be through to Mach 1 Spatial, Ambisonics. In this instance I'm using Dolby Atmos Composer, so Dolby Atmos context. So what you can hear is the simplest kind of grid patch of a wavetable, playing a fractal kind of sine wavetable through a filter and then back out. By back out we just mean out of this grid context and back into a normal device / plugin context. So that is now outputting to Dolby Atmos Beam. You can see the levels here, and that's going on to the renderer as essentially a stereo object. It sounds perfectly fine. I put a little bit of delay on the left and the right channel, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, if we look at that in Composer, I've soloed it here, so this is the no stacking. What's playing here, no stacking, and we just got standard left-right input into Composer. But voice stacking is a way to take a single sound or a single voice and spread it over kind of multiple stacks. So in this instance you can see now we've got 4 parts of this wavetable being played simultaneously, and there's this random dice that's flicking is randomly shifting the index that's going to play for each note up and down to give the sound some variation, but it's the variation that allows us to then kind of take it out to a spatial context. So in the grid we just create as many voice stacks as we want, which is essentially like unison. At the moment you're not hearing these 4 stacks, we're still hearing the no stack instance, still hearing this, and you can see there's only one section of the wavetables being played. But unison is voice stacking is like unison, so you'll be familiar with the unison where you duplicate the voice and then kind of offset it in pitch or whatever. So I can demonstrate that here by creating a 3 unison patch. So that's classic unison. Voice stacking takes that, allows you to modulate it. In classic Bitwig style, everything is modulatable, so you're not limited to just pitch. You can, as we're doing here, modulate the index. I can modulate each stack's filter, its resonance, its attack, decay, whatever I choose to build the patch out of can be modulated. But to get to those individual voices, we use what's called a voice toggle, which is just an index of each voice that we want to output. And I've separated these into 4 outputs. And then the output, because of how the grid is kind of not part of the typical plugin device chain, we have to modulate with a DC offset to get that back as audible sound or back as DC sound, in order to take that onto a plugin. In this case it's obviously the Dolby Atmos Beam, because we need to take this sound to a place in the room in Dolby Atmos. So again, you're not hearing this at the moment, this is just demonstrating. You're still hearing the stereo. But let's switch over to to the voice stacked version. So this is exactly the same patch. It's just we've kind of duplicated it 4 times, and we're modulating the index and moving that index to the front left, front right, rear right. So if I just unmute this. Okay, so this is each individual index now. So the front left, front right, rear left, rear right. I'll go back to the no stacked version, which is going to be your kind of standard sound. Nothing wrong with the stereo version at all. Sounds quite good, in fact. But it's static. There's no variation there, and it can't be spread into the room more than a kind of left-right, rather a rotation or a separation or whatever. But in voice stack mode, we've now got kind of 4 slightly different versions of the same sound. It's the same signal being generated, it's just being shaped a little bit differently from the modulation. That's basically the approach. So any Bitwig device that supports voice stacking can be manipulated like this and output to different parts of the room, but work as a single sound. So I would just call this like an arpeggiated sine wave, and that would be 1 Atmos kind of track. But it's really 4 tracks specifically placed to get a sound that I'm after. So yep, I hope that's helpful and useful, because I don't see many people using Bitwig in quite that way. Obviously not many using it for Atmos full stop, but it's quite a cool little feature. Kind of gets any Bitwig sound into a more 3D kind of version, simply from voice stack, and you can take this up to 16 voice stacks, which would be more than enough. Obviously the more you add, the more kind of fine control you've got over the different versions of that voice in the room. But yeah, all good fun. Enjoy.